No one cares! Hi, I'm John, and this is my hero's journey. I thought I would tell the story about how I adopted a healthier lifestyle and developed my self confidence, and how I realized, for the most part, no one cares. I'm gonna start off with the leaving home portion of this story. Now, from birth until 8th grade, I lived in a town called Novato. It is about 29 miles north of San Francisco. I attended a small private school where I had at most 17 classmates. I was extremely introverted, and these classmates were my only friends at the time. Now, one day, my mom tells me, "Hey, John, we're moving to San Diego." Externally, I think I had a mask of calm, but internally, I was screaming. I was about to leave behind the only friends I had ever known. In hindsight, I think the impact of leaving home was a lot more positive than I initially thought, because I'm now a lot more social and confident in myself and healthier. At the time, I was distraught. After hearing the news that we would be leaving Novato, I retreated to my room and did the one thing that has always brought me comfort. I would definitely consider this the suiting up phase of my story. And that is listening to music. Recently, I've been listening to this cover of American Pie by Home Free. Now, listening to music is when I feel at ease. I remember one time I was taking a walk, just a walk around my neighborhood and listening to music. The walk itself felt like 5 minutes. It turns out that it had been an hour-long walk. Music's the place where I can sort of drown out my problems and my worries and the problems and the horrors of this world. Music is extremely versatile and can sort of complement anyone's mood. If I'm sad and I need something upbeat and happy to cheer me up, there's a song for that. If I'm stressed and I need to calm down, well, there's a song for that. I can focus on the lyrics and the instrumental and get whisked away. Whenever I listen to music, I usually sing along at the top of my lungs and do goofy facial expressions. And you know what? I don't mind. I could be the goofiest looking singer and I wouldn't care. That's how much bliss music gives me. Listening to music is how I make tedious, everyday chores bearable, like doing the dishes and doing homework. And of course, I always sing in the shower. Now, eventually, I arrive in San Diego, and I knew no one. Now, in order to make friends, I made a lot of self-deprecating jokes regarding my weight. I've always been insecure of how unathletic I am. I had heard stories of the chunky kids getting bullied, and I was always afraid of being that kid. I was afraid of people judging me, so I judged myself first. Because of that, my self-confidence was, well, in the gutter. Insulting yourself can do that to you. One day, I looked in the mirror and I hated what I saw. It was then that I realized that I needed to change. Now, I've always been sort of a binge eater. I find it pretty easy to eat copious amounts of food when I'm bored. I always knew that that was the reason I was so unathletic, but it wasn't until that day when I'd looked in the mirror that I felt I needed to do something about it. So, I gave myself the quest then and there. Lose weight. Lose weight, eat healthy, drink water, exercise frequently. These are all things that I thought by doing, I would boost my self-confidence. And in a way, I was both right and wrong. Now, this quest was by no means an easy one. While I was initially doing it, I encountered what I believe is the biggest dragon impeding my goals. Myself. I've noticed recently that I'm usually my own biggest obstacle. I'm naturally a pessimistic person, and when progress goes slow, I usually jump to the worst conclusions. I assume that if the progress isn't immediate, then my effort isn't worth it. Some of the obstacles I've encountered on my weight loss journey were rather small, like getting exhausted after a workout or, having aching muscles. But because of the way I am, I thought that it was the biggest thing in the world, and that I was a failure and that I should give up. In this case, when the weight loss wasn't immediate, I would ask myself, why am I doing this? What's stopping me from giving up and binging on cookies? And some days I would break and end up binging those cookies. Now, luckily for me, I wouldn't have to fight the John Dragon alone. I have had the great fortune of meeting some wonderful people. these friends have given me honest and frank feedback on my fitness. They recommend things that I should cut out of my diet, workouts I should try. They tell me how I can improve my form, and not only that, but they've always lent an ear whenever I'm in over my head or need to vent, and they always know either when to listen or when to give me solutions. And without them, I don't know where I would be today. Now, this dragon didn't let me off scot-free, and I definitely did suffer a pretty massive wound, which would be the fact that since I caved from the supposed hopelessness and ate those cookies and binged that food, my weight loss was delayed, further solidifying the idea that my efforts were futile and making it easier for me to cave, and everything piled on each other. Now, this wound has shaped me, quite literally. Luckily, my friends were there to bandage my wounds and keep me in the fight. The wounds were definitely negative since they impacted my health. Now, in order to combat the fact that I was obsessively eating, I arranged to meet up with these friends. We would walk around and talk. And in those moments, I realized that I didn't want to eat. I wanted to talk and get to know them. And it's something that I still do to this day. Now, one day, I was feeling particularly positive. I'd been eating right and exercising, and my self-confidence was through the roof. Now, I show up at school, and, one of my friends sort of notices how chipper I am. She asks me what's happened, and I tell her, yeah, I've been working out, and I've been feeling great. And she looked surprised, and she responded, oh, I don't know, I've always thought that you looked fine. And then she sort of returned to her homework like nothing happened. And I was shocked. I'd always thought that everyone had realized how out of shape I was. But if this person, someone I saw regularly, didn't notice anything was wrong, then why would the strangers that I passed by, who didn't even know who I was, notice that anything was wrong? And that leads to the biggest thing that I have learned from this whole experience. The fact is, for the most part, all of the imperfections you have, no one notices. And even if they do, they don't care enough to dote on it. Everyone has their own problems, and more likely than not, they're too worried about their own insecurities to make fun of yours. Someone once put it like this, and this is how I've always thought about it. Are you willing to let strangers whose lives mean nothing to you dictate your self-worth? I don't think it's worth it. I figured I should record this clip, but because I wanted to clear up what I mean in this video. If your body is in an unhealthy state, if you're, underweight, overweight, maybe you lack the muscle that you want, there's nothing wrong with wanting to work towards that. I think it's very admirable. What I was trying to get across in this video is that the people who you think are judging you, more often than not, they couldn't care less. I wanted to end this with a quote that I found, and as cliche as this quote sounds, I think it rings true. Be proud of who you are, and not ashamed of how others see you, or in this case, how you may think others see you.